It's H. Brown Hour. We're at the first candidates debate for District 3 Supervisor in San Francisco, California. It's about 6 o'clock, 6:30. At 5 o'clock, Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon got married again down at City Hall. And we're going in. We had our Winter of Love 4 years ago, and now we're going to have our Summer of Love again. Gay marriage started at 5, one marriage today. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning we go at City Hall, and we'll continue to go 12 hours a day until the job gets done. A lot of excitement down around City Hall, a lot of protesters, a lot of young, really young kids down there from. It's kind of sad. They're really brainwashed, and they have these signs like "God hates you" and stuff like that. I mean, I know God hates me, and it's a good move. How was work today, Tony?
Oh, work was good. Actually, it's my Friday, so I got the rest of the week off.
Tough crowd there, Tony.
Yeah, it looks like it, huh? Looks like ice is running right here.
So it's kind of making it more towards things that citizens. Exactly. Okay. Do you have a website that you want to say?
If you're all listening out there, it's www.sal2008.org.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
The empty chair up there.
I don't have any suit. Except I don't have a suit.
That too, if you want.
Let me get you another one.
This is Michael. What's going on?
This is Michael Hall.
Okay.
The whole district. District 6.
She'll show you where it is.
Oh yeah.
It's all you need for.
Still got your own press room going. That's great.
How are you? Good. Got it good. Did well tonight? Yeah, good. I brought my son Joe. Nice to see you. He's when he worked with Michaela down at about 2 years ago. I know. Can you believe it? Yeah. That's Joe. There he is. Joe, you remember our Joe?
We'll get him. That's D'Annunzio. That was Mike D'Annunzio. He's the head of the local Republican Party, and he's running too.
Yes, hi. Oh my goodness. Lisa, how are you? It's been a long time.
It's embarrassing how easy it is. Everybody else got a satellite truck.
Things going off and on.
Hey guys. How do you do?
My son Joe. Excellent.
Hey, Joe, so Pat, what? You're excellent.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Do you know Pat? Where's H. Brown?
Nice to meet you.
He went that way somewhere. There he is. Wilma. Wilma. Right here. Right here. At the table.
Yeah, you can have a good crowd.
Honey, how are you?
Yes, another Joe. Let me give you another Joe. Hi, Joe. Tori, Preston, my son Joe. How's that? How's that? Excellent. Say hello.
Remember me? I saw you a couple times as supervisor. I went there with I'm sorry, my hands are so cold.
That makes perfect sense.
I was down at St.
Hi, Don. Good. Joe's good to see you. How you doing? Excellent. Are you kidding me? Thanks for putting this together. This is great. Well, listen, hand me as a pick the winner. Why not? Thank you.
I still work with Harvey to do this live, but our telephone reception's going down.
Hey, how you doing? So, so you
It's back on now, H. You know what? It's just that this isn't, yeah, it was. I just fixed it. The thing with that, I must have moved it around a little bit when I, you were just disparaging. Yeah, you remember me? I came and got you. Congratulations on your, oh, we're broadcasting live again. There's bad telephone reception in here.
I'm doing great. I think the snacks are good.
You know, it's so funny that whole I was sitting on that.
Jerry, what is it? Where's the travel William beer? You want to get some quarters?
Let me see what my hair looks like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for real. Supervisor Sandoval said I had nice hair, but I was out in the wind.
Oh, really? Well, look at it. How I did it.
And also, you look quite nice. Look at you.
There you go. Now you
Too
can
bad
see
because
yourself.
I did. I'm okay. I don't care. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm too high up in the sky. Very good.
Tom, you know Tom?
Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Hey! Salve, Aquay, what is what?
What's up, Carl? Hey, thanks for coming. Got my email reminder. Hey, how's it going? Excellent.
And I'm on David's kitchen.
Excellent. Stefan's my cousin Joey Canada. Carl, Joey.
All me is all of them is the Canadian Trust Party.
Yeah, you know what? That's one of the top
Doing my test, David.
The only time I lawyers all the time.
He's great.
Yeah. Plus, let
Our life is down.
I have what seems to be speaker notes from somebody. If some speaker brought notes, we got them here.
Our live feed is down, so we're just using Tony's camera. But you'll be doing this thing, right?
Yeah, I'm recording right now.
Paul Hogarth from Beyond Front. Over here is Sweet Melissa. I did a lot of research, but it's not going to do me any good. So now you don't have to record me. My personal.
no, that's
Tip me off.
yeah, well, but that's the only. That's Virgil. That's right. That's right. So he comes off Andra Boy and a Pamusa. Andra Boy and a Pamusa. Tell me something great. Just like this. I sing up the night. Yeah.
Testing, is this okay? All right, we are getting more chairs. The chairs will arrive soon, and in about 10 minutes or so, we'll start with some opening comments. Thank you all for coming. It appears that somebody dropped some speaker notes, perhaps. If anybody is looking for speaker notes that look like this, I have them. They're rather coded, so there aren't any secrets, I think, but somebody's going to need these. Thank you.
Broadcasting live and it went down when everybody started coming in. That's what I said. Try it.
Part of the H. Brown.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just did a little cluster of political people over there. That's nothing huge. And I said, you are standing 2 feet away from the H. Brown network.
And they were bad mouthing it. All right. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sure you have. Lots of
This is the third or fourth district.
Okay, Saturday.
No.
I had to look up the map just to find out what district it was.
Well, you know his goal is to run the
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Maybe he'll win one.
I understand this is favored. Oh, goodness.
You buy back your books and sell it back.
No good writing.
Oh, that must be him. That must be the back of his head.
Yeah, there you go.
So I had like the campus. You get it all.
All right, Jim. I hope you pick up your video someday. Well, every time I run into you, I don't have it with me.
Yeah, well, he's talking about maybe coming on.
You can pick up the last show.
Or just come by and...
How you doing, pal?
You always do an extra show. It's all right. We're getting guests 5 months out of the week. Sometimes guests, you know. I know, right? I know you're friend. He's really on yourself. All right.
And then Jeff had him one out. So once that's gone, I'm not sure if it's really there's people around. Do you ever go around like tonight? I don't know. There's people downtown sometimes. I don't know if it's really it's downtown. I see people walking behind and people that walk by. I don't really have a national answer. I know that the worst thing to do is just keep talking. I think I'm really used to it in the sensitized years ago.
was you talking with whoever. It wasn't, didn't pick up voice. Just you talking with whoever.
That's Patrick. Patrick and I were the only people helping Alex with the mayor's campaign at the very beginning. Now you know. But I didn't know if you could hear what I said. It's probably good. Patrick works now with Alex Church at his public relations office, and I learned a lot from that.
This Alioto, is he related to Angela?
Yes, he is her nephew. Joseph Alioto Jr. is the grandson of previous mayor Joseph Alioto. He's an attorney. He specializes in, you want to know?
Yeah, go ahead.
He specializes in antitrust and fair.
Excuse me, please. We're going to be starting in about 3 minutes, so if everybody could just get comfortable. Thank you.
He actually, in 2001, represented the Oakland Raiders.
Again, if somebody is missing speaker notes, I have what looks to be speaker notes from somebody.
Moving deadlines. So that's what I know about. He seems a little more conservative than Angela Alioto, but I don't know.
Good evening.
If I can't hear the music.
I have one.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? Ma'am. Take my seat. I might just end up standing.
I think anything this has to call itself.
You ready?
I guess.
Ready? Where?
No, Kirsten?
No, Kirsten.
Everybody, please take a seat. We are going to get ready in about 30 seconds. While we are setting up, I would like to ask everybody to please silence your cell phones. And also, if anyone needs validated parking, the Holiday Inn has been so gracious as to provide us means for validated parking. Please see somebody at our greeter's desk if you need that. Thank you all for coming to the Middle Polk Neighborhood Association Candidates Debate for District 3. This is really an amazing turnout, and I thank all of you as neighbors for caring enough about your neighborhood to take time out of your busy schedule to be here early on in a long political race to start identifying those candidates that you wish to follow and those issues that you wish to have highlighted. It is our hope that through the input that we received from many of you, and we did receive a lot of input, that we are going to be hitting on the pertinent questions, the leading questions that we have as a neighborhood. I would like to say that I expect this evening that we're probably all going to leave here with more questions than we're going to have answers. And that's a good thing because it's early on in the race. We're going to be just introducing our candidates. We're going to be getting some sound bits, some answers from them, but no doubt it will leave a lot of questions unanswered, and we welcome the opportunity to work with any other organization or neighborhood group to have the next debate, the next forum, and really get to know our candidates so we can all select those 3 candidates that we have the opportunity to select. Since there is ranked voting, you do have an opportunity to vote for number 1, number 2, number 3, according to your preference. I'd like to thank very much the candidates for not only being here this evening, but for taking the time out of your very busy and important lives to run for this role in our community. Thank you. We also have a sitting supervisor. Supervisor Sandoval has joined us tonight, so maybe he can give some pointers on how to do this right. Thank you, Supervisor. Also, we've had a tremendous team that has worked for months to put this debate together. Wiley Adams and John Faust have led this team. Wiley and John, thank you. And that team also includes Michael Skulnick, Frank Canada, Emily Salgado. Thank you, team. This is in place of our usual Monday night meeting. Some of you know, some of you might not know, the Middle Polk Neighborhood Group meets every 3rd Monday night at 7 o'clock. It's usually at It's a Grind at 1800 Polk at Washington. Next month, please join us back there while we continue to talk about the issues that challenge our neighborhood and continue to celebrate the victories that we enjoy as neighbors. Also, on the 3rd Saturday of every month, we have our neighborhood cleanups. Our next cleanup will be this coming Saturday, the 21st. We get together at 9:45 at It's a Grind, 1800 Polk. We go out and clean up the streets with your fellow neighbors from 10 to noon, and we'll be going out for pizza afterwards. It's a great way to get to know your neighbors and get to do something about your neighborhood, something to improve your neighborhood. If you haven't tried it, give it a try, join us. It's a lot of fun. Okay, we have a challenging format tonight because we do have 10 of the 11 candidates at the table to answer these questions. This is the format that we're going to have. There will be a 1.5-minute introduction. Following that, there will be 5 questions. And again, we've put together these questions, painstakingly worked at them in trying to really capture the primary concerns of the neighborhood. We will be asking these questions in random order. And the way we'll do that, we're going to pull the names from the ping pong balls out of a bowl. And that will determine who answers the questions. We ask our candidates to please focus on the issues. We have a short amount of time to hear from you tonight. We want to hear what your thoughts are on the issues and how you're going to improve our neighborhood. We ask you to please not take this precious time in speaking about each other, going after each other. Should there be an instance where there is some sort of attack on another platform, given that we have short time, the moderator does have the leeway to ask for a 15-second rebuttal for that candidate. But we are hoping that that is really not necessary or kept to a minimum at best. The reason is that we have 5 questions that we want to go through. These 5 questions are related to crime, land use and development, affordable housing as well, cleanliness, homelessness, and small business. That's a lot of ground to cover. We also are hoping at the end of this evening, before we leave here at 9 o'clock, to have an opportunity for the candidates to meet with the individuals and have some time for some discussion. So please, let's all work together to try to keep this going at a pretty quick clip. I think that is all that I have for intros. Anything else from here? John, one very important thing. Candidates. John is our timekeeper. He has a red flag. The red flag is going to tell you when you have 15 seconds left. He'll try to get your attention from over at this corner. And John, you're going to wave that and just say 15 seconds, yeah? And then the beeper will go off at 1.5 minutes, at which time you will have to stop speaking. So, okay? Ready? Frank? Thank you.
Again, thank you, candidates and citizens. My name is Frank Canada. I'm a member of the Middle Polk Neighborhood Association. So as Dawn said, 1.5 minute intro from each candidate, and then for each question, every candidate will have an opportunity to answer every question, and they will also have 1.5 minutes. For the introduction, we're just going to go in alphabetical order. And then the questions will be randomly. So we're ready to start, and we'll go. Candidate Alioto, please start the introductions.
Thank you so much. And a great thanks, of course, to the Middle Polk Neighborhood Association and to Dawn and to all of you for organizing this wonderful event. I appreciate it very much. I know the other candidates do as well. My name is Joseph Alioto, Jr. I was born and raised here in San Francisco, and my family has been in this city for 4 generations. My great-grandfather was an immigrant from Sicily who was a fisherman on Fisherman's Wharf and who founded, or one of the founding members of Fisherman's Wharf. My grandfather, Joe Alioto, was born in a small flat on Filbert Street, just a half a block away from Washington Square Park in North Beach. He became the mayor in the 60s and 70s, and my Aunt Angela, as well as my sister, have also been involved with local politics for many, many years. I would consider it a great honor to continue with that tradition of public service in which I was so profoundly steeped. My wife, Erica, and I live in a small condominium in North Beach, which we own, and we intend to raise our family here, beginning, as it turns out, very soon. We are expecting our first child in December. As an attorney, I represent small businesses and individuals against some of the largest corporate interests in the world. I ensure that these small businesses have the opportunity to thrive in local communities like ours. I am running for this office because I am tired of the bickering personal politics that has so infused our city government, and I wish to elevate the conversation to a reasoned debate that focus on the issues and not on personalities, and I would appreciate your support in that endeavor. Thank you very much.
Okay, Candidate Brown, please.
Thank you, Joe. You told us a lot of things about you, and that's good. We all knew you anyway. You have a right for transparency in all of your candidates, absolutely. You have a right to expect a candidate who has San Francisco values. Right now, down at City Hall, Phyllis Line and Del Martin just got married again. That's a San Francisco value. There's a guy named Randy Tate. Randy Tate was the head of the Christian Coalition. At 19 years of age, he was a Pat Robertson delegate to the Republican Convention. At 22 years of age, he won a seat in the State House in Washington State. The way he did it was the night before the election, he ran around and gave out pamphlets saying that his opponent was a child molester. This was patently false, not true at all. Mr. Tate then went on and he said at one point about Al Gore, he said, he gave alternative lifestyle choices such as homosexuality of the near of legitimacy. Folks, do you like that person? David Chu hired him for his board of directors of Grassroots Enterprises. Mr. Chu also gave $9,000 to the Dick Cheney's oil task force. He also got $299,000.
Time, please.
Okay, time. Thank you, candidate.
Thank you. Candidate Busalaki, please.
Could I have a chance to respond to that?
Yes.
Just take 15 seconds. If any of you want the truth and not the lies, I ask you to visit my website and email us, and we're happy to send you the truth. I hope that we are able to move beyond politics of fighting and negative attacks and move to actually have a conversation about real issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Candidate Busalaki, 1 second, please. By naming other candidates, you're just giving that person an opportunity to have more time to give out their viewpoint. So please respect the process. Thank you. Candidate Busalaki, please.
My name is Sal Busalaki. For those of you who'd like Alioto name, my grandmother's Josephine Alioto. And I am a native of District 3. This is the district where my family chose to live and work, where I went to school, got my first kiss, my first slap, and started business. To this day, I still live and have a business in District 3. If I were seated in the audience tonight, trying to decide who would solve our neighborhood problems, what would I need to know to give them my support? The first thought that came to mind was if any candidate running in this district were endorsed by supervisors who have said yes to all of our tax increases and have rejected the quality of life crime issues by declining to release money held in reserve for building 2 holding compartments for the Polk Street Community Justice Center, would I vote for them? My answer came up no, because my belief would be that this person who got endorsed by these supervisors would bring us another 4 years of the same type of government, and I find that unacceptable. I feel we no longer can have a dysfunctional relationship between the Board of Supervisors and our mayor. All this does is penalize us by not getting the needed projects done in our neighborhoods. As you look at all of us here this evening, think of the candidates who have experiences it takes to make a better district. I believe that I am that someone who would have the passion, commitment, the results, and you will come to the conclusion that Sal would be the first one to stand by your side.
Thank you, Candidate Busalaki. Candidate Chang.
Thank you. My name is Claudine Chang, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Hong Kong, and I came to San Francisco in 1981 to attend Hastings College of the Law. I love the city like many of you do, and I decided to stay. Over the last 20 years, I have had many opportunities to serve the community, and if I had to name one experience that singularly prepared me to be your district supervisor, it would be my service on the board of the Treasure Island Development Authority, and for the last five and a half years as its president. In 2001, the authority board has gone from having no plan to, after a extensive public process, a development plan that I'm very proud to tell you that includes 30% affordable housing, preserving over half of the island as open space, and a plan that is the shining example of what a sustainable development should be and can be. In fact, this plan was unanimously adopted by the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in December of 2007. I'm here to ask for your vote and your support. I am going to be a supervisor for every neighborhood within the district. I am the best candidate for you, not only because of my experience, but because of the approach that I bring, an approach that is driven by common sense and balance, and an approach that believes that your voice should be heard in the process of policy making. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidate, and thank you for being on time. Candidate Chu.
My name is David Chu, and I would be honored to be your next supervisor. During the last 12 years, I've lived within a few blocks of Polk Street. And like all of you here, I love living here, but I have tremendous concerns about the future of our neighborhoods. Like you, I think it's unacceptable that there have been 9 shootings on Polk Street in the last year and a half. I think it is unacceptable that, like you, I wait for muni buses that are late 30% of the time. Like you, I wonder each day why our streets are dirty, why we don't have affordable housing, why we have struggling businesses. Now, I've had conversations with many of you in recent months, and I think we all share a common vision of what we need to see here in our neighborhoods. We need to move beyond the politics of personality that we currently see at City Hall that's preventing us from solving real problems. We need to build bridges between our communities. We need to work together, all of us, to move things forward. And we need a new generation of leaders who hopefully have the experience to solve the complex problems that we have. I hope to share with you tonight my experience because I believe I'm the candidate who brings the experience that we need to move us forward. The experience of a Polk Street neighborhood leader, of a community court judge, of a former prosecutor, and of a small business founder. Tonight I look forward to having a conversation on how we move our neighborhoods forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Chu. Candidate DiNunzio.
Thank you, Mid-Polk, and I commend Mid-Polk for the tremendous achievements you've had in the short time that you've been in existence, and I want to thank my fellow candidates here for making this a good forum. My wife Annette and I have lived in District 3 and have served causes throughout this city for the past 30 years. I'm the former CEO of Community Counseling Service. I have a career working with civic leaders, helping to work for better health, education, social, cultural, civic, and religious projects. I know what a budget is all about. I know how to protect essential services. 2 mayors, a governor, and an archbishop have appointed me to very serious responsibilities in the city and the state. Mayor Newsom appointed me to the Council to End Chronic Homelessness, where I worked with Angela Alioto to write the plan for supportive housing. Mayor Brown appointed me a Commissioner on Aging, where I was assigned to Adult Protective Services. Elder abuse is epidemic in this city. This district has the highest percentage of seniors, and I'm going to do something about it. Archbishop Levada called me and asked me to help him open the historic Church of St. Francis, and I'm working on historic projects. All my appointments have been supported by people like Fiona Ma, Mark Leno, Leland Yee. My theme is competence matters. Every candidate here is competent. We can all do the job. The question now is who has the experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candidate DiNunzio. Candidate Ganter, please.
Good evening. I'm the only one in this district that's publishing a paper about this district, the District 3 Herald. The June issue is already out. The July issue will be out shortly. It is to inform and enlighten, to describe the beauty and diversity of our neighborhoods, including the Polk Corridor, and to tell you where I stand on the issues. I also have my own column in the Herald. In the July issue, I discuss the waterfront, the police, the city's Better Streets Plan, the Francisco Street Reservoir on Lower Russian Hill, among other topics. I'm a 6th-generation San Franciscan. I grew up in Russian Hill. I live on Telegraph Hill. Until recently, I was head of the District 3 Democratic Club. I'm also the founder of the 80-member North Beach Merchants Association. I'm a lawyer and counsel to and partner with Lawrence Ferlinghetti in the Piazza St. Francis Association, which is creating a beautiful plaza in the heart of North Beach. Until a few months ago, I wrote a column on Northeast San Francisco for a daily newspaper. I've attended and served at over 30 dinners for the homeless in the past 5 years. As head of and counsel to the North Beach Merchants Association, I've worked with the police, DPW, Rec Park, SFPUC, and appeared at numerous city hall hearings. In early spring, I sent out a mailer to 32,000 voters in District 3, introducing myself and explaining my basic platform, which is safe, clean, green streets for a livable city. I'm happy to provide copies at the end of this event. I'm not in this race as a stepping stone to higher office. I know this district very well. I believe I'm the only one who can bring District 3 together, and I'm ready to serve. Thank you, and if you have an opportunity, please read my paper.
Thank you, Candidate Ganter. Candidate Jefferson, please.
Good evening. I'm Lynn Jefferson, and I am a neighborhood activist and leader. I'm the current chair of North Beach Neighbors Planning and Zoning Committee. I served for 2 years as president of that organization. I have worked in the community of North Beach for the past 5 years. I serve as a lead for Project Homeless Connect. And in the past 5 years, I have seen a lot of things that are not great about what's going on in the city. Basically, when I first got involved in neighborhood politics, shall we say, it was over a land use issue. And North Beach Neighbors actually took a stand for an entitled project that was actually a piece of land. We took a stand on that and we were ostracized. And so since that time, I have been working actually without representation at City Hall. My campaign is all about opening the doors to City Hall, to all the residents and all the merchants in North Beach, in Russian Hill, Nob Hill, Fisherman's Wharf. I know what it feels like to actually be kind of shut out of the process. My experience at Project Homeless Connect, I've seen people who are sick and mentally ill on the streets. These are big issues, and you need someone who's a leader, who's not afraid to stand up and fight for what is right in the city. An end to all the bickering back and forth at City Hall, and an end to projects being stopped land use-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Jefferson. Candidate McCarthy.
Good evening. I'm Denise McCarthy. I'd like to talk to you tonight about community. A community comes from people working together to make things better. For nearly 30 years as a community activist, I have worked to improve our neighborhoods. Community is often missing at the Board of Supervisors these days. I think we can do better, and I would like to lead the way. For 25 years, I ran the Telegraph Hill Neighborhood Center, expanded it to a $2 million budget, and a staff of 38. Today, Tel High serves over 600 families, giving parents access to affordable preschool, helping youth with after-school tutoring, providing seniors with a hot meal, and health and education programs. How does that qualify me to be a supervisor? Well, frankly, I've had a lot of experience working with juveniles. I can handle anything and still accomplish my goals. For 7 years, I also served on the Port Commission 2 years as president. During that time, I helped guide several large, complex projects like the ballpark and the ferry building. I, too, am not running for supervisor as a stepping stone. I'm running to get things done. With your help, we can reshape the attitudes at City Hall and make it accessible to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, Candidate Pang, please.
So, I'm the last one. My name is Wilma Pang, and right now I'm a resident of Chinatown, so-called the ghetto. People ask me, why are you living in Chinatown? Everybody who made it moved out of Chinatown. Anyway, before that, during the 1965 to about 70, I actually lived on 1236B Broadway, and my kids grew up at Howland Wills playground. Because I was going to school as a single parent, I put my children in preschool at Howland Wills, and during the day, I bring them there faithfully to play so that I can go to school. And when I was at the playground, I actually learned to converse in French and Italian, because then there's a large French and Italian population. I majored in music. I went to the conservatory while raising 3 girls. They all went through school in San Francisco. I became an opera singer. I do speak Italian because of my background. So I do not have great experience to say I'm an artist. Compassion and caring is most important in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, so we're going to get ready to go into the questions. We're going to have John, who's timing this, move in the middle so it's more obvious for the candidates when they have 15 seconds left. And we're going to pick the first 2 candidates in order, then I'll read the question, and then we continue picking candidates. If at any point any of the candidates want me to reread the question, please ask, and I will reread the question. So the order of the first question, the first 2 candidates will be?
First candidate, Wilma Pang.
First candidate will be Wilma Pang.
Denise McCarthy.
And the second one will be Denise McCarthy. So question 1 is, the Middle Polk neighborhood has suffered from the effects of violent crime. In the last 2 years, there have been 7 pimp shootings, some of them fatal. Street prostitution has skyrocketed as well as drug sales. Recently, two elderly neighbors were robbed and beaten while entering their homes in the middle of the day. As supervisor, what would you do about these serious problems? Candidate Pang.
Okay. Yes, I know this is a crime, a serious problem in the Polk area, because I've been going around the Polk Street neighborhood. Actually, I visited Kelly's bar right on Broadway and Polk, and they told me the problems about the prostitution, about the crime in this area. What I would do, I would work closely with the police department, and also I would conduct a series of meetings and see how the neighborhood will solve the problem. Because as supervisors, I can say, I can do this, I can do that, but I think it has to come from the people. It's not because, I can solve the world's problem. The people will.
Thank you, candidate. So we're going to have candidate McCarthy answer the same question, followed by
Harold Brown.
Harold Brown. So candidate McCarthy.
I understand that the Middle Polk organization has worked very hard on this issue, and I have a lot of experience working with Central Station. I think that what's needed is sitting down residents, businesses, the police, the other entities that deal with public safety, and creating a plan that can be implemented over a certain period of time. There has got to be ways to take care of issues like this that don't simply move the issue further down Polk Street or further up Polk Street, for that matter. But working together, I believe these problems can be solved, and that people can actually feel better about taking on and getting active. It's very good to see this kind of process already started, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, now we're going to have candidate Brown, followed by candidate DiNunzio. Candidate Brown, please.
The problem is the cops. There are 1,971 police officers on duty in this city. I know they say they're 250 short, 150 short. It's not true. They staff them out, but they staff whatever their shortage is, 150, 200. They staff it with overtime. It costs you an extra $10 million a year, and they will not walk foot patrols. I ran in District 5. Running for office is a hobby of mine because I like to get up and harass the other candidates. But in District 5, we had 22 of us running, and I had one thing. I said, all of you have to promise. We had a candidates collaborative. All of you have to promise to push foot patrols. I mean single officer foot patrols. You've got plenty of cops to do that, but they won't do it. We have more cops. They're better paid. They're better equipped, but they stay in those patrol cars. That's your problem. I'm afraid that, I'd push that as supervisor, but the only way you're going to change that is to get a mayor who will go up against them.
Thank you, candidate Brown. Now it's going to be candidate DiNunzio, followed by candidate Chu.
I've been endorsed by former police chief Tony Rivera for one reason. I believe strongly that we can't have a safer district if we don't have a safer city. And we're not going to have a safer city if we don't have sufficient number of public safety police personnel. Right now, police recruitment is at its lowest ebb, police morale is low, and it's all because we're not doing the job with the arrests, the prosecutions that are necessary. I believe strongly in effective police community type of deployment that will target where the crimes are, such as were pointed out here, and address them immediately with vigorous prosecutions. I worked very hard on the deferred retirement option, the DROP program, in order to put more boots on the ground in the years ahead with new police. We're going to be losing several hundred over the next few years because of retirement. And I've got a plan that will bring that about. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. We're going to have now candidate Chu, followed by candidate Gantner.
I want to thank you for raising this incredibly important question, not just for this neighborhood, but for the entire district. Crime and public safety is something that I've worked on directly myself for many, many years. I'm a former criminal prosecutor. I've served as the judge of the Polk Street Community Court, and the building that I lived in was actually victimized by a drug dealer. So I have a lot of personal firsthand experience with thinking about this. I think there are many, many things that we ought to do. We ought to fully implement our community policing programs and foot patrols, as been mentioned. We need to think about how to better use data and collect data about where crimes are occurring and use technology, new technological tools that are helpful in crime fighting that have worked elsewhere. We need to consider various reform proposals to consolidate some of the stations. I think many of you who are not from this part of the district may not know that we actually don't sit in Central Station. We are in Northern Station as we speak, and this dividing line has caused a lot of issues. And I think it's incredibly important that we develop stronger partnerships between the District Attorney's Office, the San Francisco Police Department, the probation agencies, and all of the different criminal justice agencies that are here in San Francisco. Because of my work in this area, I'm honored to have been endorsed by our District Attorney, Kamala Harris, by the former president of the Police Officers Association, Chris Cunney, and many others within law enforcement, because I want to help move us forward to really figuring out new solutions to tackling a very old problem.
Thank you, candidate Chu. Okay, now candidate Gantner, followed by candidate Alioto.
As founder and head of the North Beach Merchants Association, I've worked actively with Central Station over the last 4 or 5 years.
And not just in this area, but throughout this district and throughout this city. I also have an experience prosecuting crimes for the District Attorney's Office in Oakland, which I have done. And as my policies go, I am a big supporter of increasing number of police officers in San Francisco streets. Here's what we need to do. The mayor has proposed an increase of 150 officers in the upcoming budget. I absolutely support that enhancement, and we absolutely must support that enhancement on the Board of Supervisors. Number two, one of the reasons that I first got involved with local politics and as a board of directors member of a group on Telegraph Hill was because my wife was afraid to cross Broadway one night late on Friday because of the types of crime that have been occurring on Broadway. What I would like to do is enhance security there by teaching, frankly, the Entertainment Commission about the powers that they have to restrict the permits on clubs and things that are leading to an increase in violence. Let me also say that I do agree with Mr. Brown's comment that we must absolutely ensure that more cops get out of their patrol cars and walk beats. That's the way to resolve this problem, and I will support that measure entirely.
Great, thank you, candidate Alioto. Okay. Candidate Jefferson will be followed by candidate Busalaki. Candidate Jefferson?
And then the last one will be Claudia Chang.
And then candidate Chang. So.
Thank you. Well, you've had a chance to listen to all the other candidates, as have I. I actually do support foot patrols. I support community policing. I have sat down and I've got a good relationship with Captain Jim Dudley, and there are frustrations, I believe, within the police force in terms of trying to get the job done. I do think that what we need to do is we need to expand SAFE. We need to actually have groups like Middle Polk has done an amazing job of bringing attention to a problem that's been in existence for a long time. And I think that that has been a great thing. And I also think that we can expand on that in terms of expanding programs that are that will actually help get more police onto the street. And I don't know if it's so much the number. I do think that Tony came up with a good idea, and I support the idea about getting cops off the desk duty onto the street. And I think if we can send a message that we are actually have eyes and ears on the street, we've got neighbors on the street, we've got community groups looking out. If we send that message that we enforce things in San Francisco, we can put a stop to some of these incidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Jefferson. Candidate Busalaki.
Well, first of all, I would like to say, when I was a youngster living in North Beach, I knew every cop that was on the beat. He came out and spoke to every one of us kids, and we all knew who he was. He knew who we were. We definitely need the cops back on the street. As far as the city hall is concerned, with the people in the Polk district, by not giving them money for their Polk Street Community Justice Center, that doesn't help anybody here that is living in this area. This was going to be a holding tank for people who were causing problems. They just said no to that. As far as the consolidation, thank you everybody for telling me what to say here. But as far as the consolidation is concerned, it would be unwise to consolidate something where you'd have a policeman take longer to get here than it would in another district. That's absolutely crazy. As far as being endorsed by people, I've been endorsed by Alex Fagan, and I've also been endorsed by a retired police supervisor from the DEA, Frank Harrington, because they know that I would also first of all, we have to have a symbiotic relationship as well between the people in the community as well as the police. The people have also got to get to know the police, or else it's not going to work.
Thank you, Candidate Busalaki. And last on this question, Candidate Chang.
Thank you. Number one, I'm for very strong law enforcement. Number two, I believe in giving and allocating adequate resources to the San Francisco Police Department. Number three, if any one of you have been to Mid-Polk Neighborhood Association, their meeting is a living example of what community policing is about. You see a strong tie and cooperation between residents and the police department, and I'm strongly in favor of that. What have not been said, maybe, number one, as your supervisor, I would promote better interdepartmental cooperations between the San Francisco Police Department and all the other departments that have to do with cleaner and safer streets. This is an idea that I have after I have spent hours with Captain Dudley as well as Captain El Caggiato, both in the Central Station as well as in the Northern Station. Lastly, I really appreciate the work of the Mid-Polk Association as well as the local Polk neighbors. I know that they've done a lot of the work in community policing. It's very important. I would strongly encourage funding and for your involvement in a neighborhood safe program. I think that would add to your community policing effort. I think the Polk Street corridor is a shining example of what a neighborhood can do, and I would fully support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates. So that was question one. We're going to go on to question two, and the first two respondents for question two will be
Mike D'Annunzio, number one.
Candidate D'Annunzio first, followed by
David Chu.
Followed by David Chu. So question two is, there are several substantial development projects being proposed in our neighborhood. Often the proposals do not include on-site affordable housing. They max out the height and density limits, and they have little regard for the look and feel of the surrounding neighborhood or its historical, cultural, and economic diversity. As supervisor, how would you balance the importance of maintaining the fabric of our neighborhoods and development? Candidate D'Annunzio.
Planned, orderly, well-balanced growth is an essential issue in every district, particularly here. We talk about the Van Ness corridor, the importance of retail for people. We also know that we have to have responsible planning, input on planning and development issues. We have a community in San Francisco that is really one of the oldest major cities in the country in terms of the elderly people. We need more senior housing, and we also need, on the other side, to be able to keep younger families and younger people in the city. In order to do that, we have to have affordable housing. One of the other reasons for affordable housing is as we move toward the need for community-based home care services, we have to have people who can afford to live in the city to provide the kind of services that elderly or disabled people will need. That includes people right here in the Polk area. And for that reason, anybody who wants to run for supervisor here has to understand well-balanced, planned, orderly, and responsible input on community development.
First of all, as chair of Lower Polk Neighbors, and as someone who's been very active in Middle Polk Neighborhood Association, I have worked extensively on many of the projects that are being proposed. And first and foremost, as supervisor, I will be listening and taking the lead from our neighborhoods. I am not going to be an elected official who is in the pockets of developers. I'm just going to put that out there. That being said, I think that there are many developments that can be appropriate. And from my business background, I would be a supervisor that would be looking to hopefully create consensus between neighborhoods and developments so that we don't have situations that currently exist in a lot of places throughout the district where for 10 or 15 years there are just fights that don't get resolved and hundreds or thousands of hours of neighborhood time and millions of dollars of developer time get spent. With regards to affordable housing, I've been a tenant for the last 12 years. I also chair the largest affordable housing organization here in District 3. We've developed housing for over 2,000 low-income seniors, tenants, immigrant families. That is an incredibly important priority for me. I strongly support inclusionary housing requirements to make sure that we do have affordable housing, to make sure that this neighborhood in San Francisco and District 3 remains a diverse neighborhood.
Existing zoning and planning requirements, but they should be in the character of the neighborhood, and it must respect the neighborhood. Respect meaning taking in consultation with how the neighbors feel about the project. I totally believe in the 15% affordable housing requirement of the city. In fact, I think we should review and to see if that should be increased. I believe that all affordable housing should be on site for the 2 or 3 proposals that is now on the table on Pacific and on Polk Street. It is very important because that would help preserve and promote economic diversity in our neighborhoods. We have talked about diversity a lot, cultural, ethnic, but economic diversity is very important, and we can do that by encouraging on-site inclusionary housing for affordable housing. But affordable housing, we're looking at not just about, the term is really, I think, questionable right now, because when I talk to a lot of teachers, nurses, and policemen, I think a lot of them can't even afford the affordable housing of today. I think we really need to look at the formula of providing housing for low and very low income. When we look at affordable housing, again, it's not just for tenants, it's also for those who might just want to own their first home. So I think as a supervisor, I will be listening to your concerns. I will make sure that there is a place for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. We're going to have candidate Gantner followed by candidate McCarthy.
To increase that to 20% if I'm on the Board of Supervisors and the vote came before me. There is going to be on the ballot in November requirement or a proposal to set aside $33 million a year for additional affordable housing. That is something I support, although I do have some concerns about our present financial concerns in our city budget. I'm a supporter of affordable housing, but we have to be careful about how we work it into the city budget.
Thank you, candidate Gantner. Now, candidate McCarthy is going to be followed by
North Beach area, who were building housing, and we successfully, through working with community and business folks, successfully negotiated in all those cases to have inclusionary housing. I think this district is particularly supportive and active and interested in keeping economic diversity. And the one and only way, really, to do that is to continue to increase the affordability of units and to make that a reality. I think it's also a way to keep families. We have many, many families with young children, and they are always often finding themselves forced to leave the city, let alone the neighborhood. So I think that type of housing is also necessary, and also senior housing, to say the least.
Candidate Brown, followed by...
Wilma Pang.
Okay, Candidate Brown.
Thank you. I spent 5 years as a firefighter. I fought the biggest structural fire in the history of the United States. I know that because it was the biggest building ever built in the United States. It was a military records center in Overland Park, Missouri. I don't favor building any building in this city over 45 feet tall. As a matter of fact, that was the zoning requirement in virtually the entire city until 20 or 30 years ago. You know why? Because what happens if you happen to have this thing called an earthquake? Gosh and golly, things fall down and get all in your way, and you can't get a ladder truck up to a building. That's why the zoning requirements were 45 feet. You need to keep them at 45 feet. You've got 808,000 people in this city right now. That's enough. It really and truly, that's all Hetchy can handle. What your neighborhood needs is not developed, it needs preserved.
Thank you, Candidate Brown. So now it's going to be Candidate Pang, followed by...
Lynn Jefferson.
Candidate Jefferson. Candidate Pang.
Well, affordable housing reverberates the whole city. It's especially critical in Chinatown, North Beach, and this area. There's so much need for the living quarters. And in Chinatown, there's our single, the hotels. But I'd like to see more affordable housing in this area so that more residents could be able to stay in this area. More families. How are we going to do that? We have to balance the developers with the community. What's happening now is so critical in our district. Housing. That's what we hear all the time. How are we going to solve it? We should bring the people in the community together and say, look, we have a critical problem. How are we going to build more housing, and how to help the business prosper in this area? That's what my concern is. And also, I just want to let you know that I'm a renter all my life. So, of course, I do worry about affordable housing.
Thank you, Candidate Pang. Now, Candidate Jefferson is going to be followed by...
First, Mr. Alioto, and the last one on this question, Mr. Salaki.
Okay, Candidate Jefferson.
Part of my campaign platform is regarding what I would say is workforce housing, dedicated housing for some of the people who work in the city, our firefighters, our nurses, our teachers. Affordable housing is a big catch-all phrase for a lot of different things, and I think what's happened is the focus has been on low income housing, which we need, but no one's really talked about how do we get people together, whether it's the banks, the developers, to actually maybe take a little bit less in profit, a point or two, whatever it takes to actually be creative about coming up with dedicated workforce housing, so that you're actually talking about something in specifics rather than bandying around affordable housing. We have people who, God forbid we have an earthquake, who don't live in this city. If the bridges are down, what happens? I mean, what happens in an earthquake? So this is something that I'm passionate about, and I've been to different forums where I've heard Henry Cisneros speak about projects that he's done, and I know that where there's a will, there's a way. I think you need a leader who's actually going to go out there and actually try to do something about it and get some dedicated housing for the people who live and work in the city. I hear it in Chinatown. I hear it all over the place from people who are saying, you know, we need to have people living and working in San Francisco.
Thank you, Candidate Jefferson. Candidate Alioto.
San Francisco, and in particular District 3, is, in my opinion, one of the great world-class cities on this earth. And within District 3, we have some of the most culturally and historically important neighborhoods in the United States. Almost every year, North Beach is rated as one of the top neighborhoods to live in the United States. One of the reasons for that is because these neighborhoods are so historically and culturally important. We must absolutely do everything that we can to preserve the integrity of these neighborhoods. If we are going to allow development, that development must be sustainable, it must be responsible, and it must be neighborhood compatible. Now, toward that end, what I would suggest is that the type of housing that we begin to focus on is housing for our middle class, for our families.
And last on this question, Candidate Gusalaki.
Well, first of all, the piece of the pie, the American dream. I'm a real estate broker by trade, and I own a real estate company. And one of the things that is happening right now as we speak is that it takes 10 to 12 years to get a TIC converted into a condominium. I haven't heard anybody try to get somebody to address that issue. If I'm elected supervisor, I promise you I'll cut that in half. That is unacceptable to me, especially when you own that property anyway, to have to wait another 10, 15 years just so you can move into it, or not move into it, but own it outright. As far as affordable housing is concerned, I haven't heard anything talk about tenants. There should be more housing directly aimed at tenants. There isn't anything that is direct for tenants. They won't build any houses for tenants. Tenants are our lifeblood to the people who work, have businesses in San Francisco. They support everything else. They're the bottom, and they keep going up. Like supply and demand, our gas. The more tenant housing we have, the lower the rents will be. The less we have, like we do now, they're out of sight for the tenants.
Thank you, candidate. Okay, we're going to go on to question 3, which is on cleanliness and beautification. And the